Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the greatest boxer tournament in Title Bout II. The crowd's starting to file slowly into Lost Carcosa for today's bout. As we'll take a quick look at the current bracket. In our last video, Rocky Marciano needed just 3 rounds to get past Ivan Drago into the semifinals. So we're going to move up to this side of the quarterfinals and get an opponent for Rocky Balboa, who's still nursing the broken hand that he suffered against Ken Norton in the 4th round of their quarterfinal bout. With that, let's go meet today's fighters. First up, we're going to meet George Foreman, who's going to be represented by John Cena. Take a look at his card. Overall ranking of 10 and a slugger. Takes control on a 9 against a boxer or 12 against a slugger. Aggressiveness of 10, killer instinct of 9, endurance of 75, foul rating C, defense 2, KD 1 and 2 of 0 and 1, knockout rating of 1, cut 2, and 4 counterpunch range. He's also got quite a bit of power, at least when he's fresh. I'll make a note on the endurance for my score sheet. What was that, 75? Okay. We'll take a look at his card in a second. But that is George Foreman. Now let's go meet his opponent. Actually, before we go meet his opponent, we'll go through a quick... Actually, I think we did the history already, where George Foreman needed only 3 rounds to get past Mike Tyson in the 1st round. So now that that's all set, now let's go meet his opponent today. We're actually not ready to go meet his opponent yet because we need to find him a corner man for this bout. So we'll give the corner man deck a shuffle. And a cut. And this will be our first try at a corner man for Foreman. We will find Nacho Beristain, who's good on everything except for cuts and swelling. He's average. Boxer rate 7 and up. He's available on a 1 to 35. So we'll get a random number from the second deck and we'll find a 13. So Nacho Beristain is available, which means he'll be Foreman's corner man for this bout. Now we're ready to go meet George Foreman's opponent. Vitali Klitschko advanced into the quarterfinal round of the tournament via disqualification against Evander Holyfield. And in hindsight, Holyfield really didn't need to cheat because Holyfield was in total control of that bout. So I guess he got greedy, decided to cheat, and as a result managed to get himself disqualified in the process. So we'll take a quick look at Vitali Klitschko's card. Also 10 and a slugger, nicknamed Dr. Iron Fist. Takes control on a 9 against a boxer versus an 11 against a slugger, so we're going to have quite the slugfest today. Aggressiveness of 10, killer instinct 9, endurance rating 90, foul at a B, defense of 2, KD 1 and 2 at a 1-2, knockout rating 1, cut 3, counterpunch 4, and 9 hit power to land power shots. So now we'll remember to actually try to get a corner man for Klitschko right away. Give this a shuffle. And a cut. And here's our first try at a corner man for Klitschko. Chick Ferrar, who's excellent on cuts but doesn't do anything with training strategy or attitude, which I'm fine with because we're only working with cuts. But let's see if he's available. He's available on a 1 to 55. 66, so Chick Ferrar is not available. Apparently he doesn't want to make the trip to Lost Carcosa, and I can't much blame him. Kenny Lane, who's available on a 1 to 80. So as long as we don't draw a word, Kenny Lane will be in Klitschko's corner. A 12, he'll be in Klitschko's corner. So I can return those to the box, which I will take care of that now while I'm thinking about it. Now that we've got cornermen all set up, let's move over to the ring. There are 2 more things we need to do before we before we're ready to start the bout, first we need to get our referee. We're going to get our referee the same way we got the cornermen. So we'll give this a shuffle. And a cut, and we'll see who's the first referee we're asking to make the trip to Lost Carcosa for this bout. We are first asking Paul Thomas to make the trip to Lost Carcosa. He will on a 1 to 60. So we'll go to the second deck and we'll find foul. So Paul Thomas is not making the trip to Carcosa today. Second try at a referee. Frank Cappuccino, who makes the trip on a 1 to 40. Let's see what we find on the random number. That's a 3, so Frank Cappuccino has made the trip to Lost Carcosa. He's a normal referee. Normal referee all around. So I'll make some notes here. Just doing a little paperwork off camera. Normal referees check on the 4th point deduction. Okay. Just making sure I have that straight. Which means the rest of the referees, if I can ever get a nail under there, the rest of the referees can also go back to the box. And then we'll need to find an aggressor for this bout because both of our fighters have 10 aggressiveness, and the next check is their rating, but they're both also 10s. So we're going to need to get random numbers, and I believe higher number is the aggressor for the first round. Let me just double check that. Where were you? Here we are. Yes. Same aggressiveness and same overall rating. Get a random number. What's the random number? Okay, that's the RN. So Foreman's random number is a 22. Let's see what Klitschko pulls. Klitschko pulls a 63. So Klitschko will be our aggressor to start round 1. I'll get all of these shuffled back into the deck. With the power we've got on display today, that could be the most important win of the bout, but we'll find out what happens there. Finish giving this a shuffle. And a cut. And with that, we're all set to get into round 1, and Klitschko will be our aggressor. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about either designations for this bout. So, there's the bell, and here's round 1. Klitschko is our aggressor. He will start off with no control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko, no control. Foreman, no control. They're already pawing the air, and the crowd in Lost Carcosa is getting restless. Klitschko, no control. Foreman, will take control for the first time, so the first action check goes to Foreman. 72 will be ring movement, so we are moving. So staying in ring center. Back to Foreman we go, though, who stays in control. Landing a power shot right away. Klitschko's a 1 against a 1. That should be 4 points. That should be just 4 points to Foreman. Yes. That will be 4 points to Foreman. Once it decides to cooperate with me. There we go. 4 points to Foreman. So back to Foreman we go. Who loses control? Klitschko. Can't take it. Foreman. Takes control back. 80 is ring movement. We are moving to the left neutral corner, which means Foreman's now a +1 on control checks. So a 13 will work for Foreman. A 7 will do naturally as well. Next card up. Foul. Oh boy. Foreman's a C against a 10. I'm certain that's going to get waved off. It will. Back to Foreman, who stays in control. 12 is going to land another power shot. Once again, Klitschko's a 1 against a 3. I'm sure that's going to be another 4 points. Yep. Another 4 points to Foreman, bringing him up to 8 on the round. Back to Foreman we go. Who loses control? Klitschko. Can't take it. Foreman takes control back. Landing another power shot. We were seeing Foreman's power coming out to play earlier. Klitschko's a 1 against a 10. That will be 5 points to Foreman, which will bring Foreman up to 13. Like I said, Foreman is bringing his power to bear early. Back to Foreman we go, who stays in control. Foul. He's a C against a 57. I think he's going to get warned. No, he's going to admonish. Referee's going to admonish both fighters. Come on, keep it clean, guys. So no warning there. Back to Foreman. Camera does not. There we go. I was going to say, it doesn't seem to want to focus this morning. But Foreman loses control, even with his +1. Klitschko takes it finally. So first action for Klitschko. 11 is going to just miss a power shot, but he will land a punch. He will land. 55 will be good for a 3-point combination. So Klitschko's on the board with his first 3 points. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 7 is going to land a power shot of his own. Foreman's a 0 now against a 15. 15-0 will be 5 points to Klitschko. So now Klitschko is letting his power shine at least a little bit. Back to Klitschko we go, who stays in control. 25 is going to land another punch. He will land. 44 cut. 44 is good for a 3-point cross, which will bring Klitschko up to 11 points. And then Foreman adds 2 to this random number, so his cut, 11, I'm pretty sure that will be, that's no cut. Okay. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 55 is going to be a clinch. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Actually, no, he stays in control because he's trying to do it against a slugger. 70 is ring movement, so Klitschko is going to get out of that corner most likely. Moving back to ring center. So we're back where we started. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman takes it. 74 is ring movement, so we are moving to the far ropes. Foreman once again +1 in his control checks. Loses control. Klitschko takes control. 18 is going to land another punch, and he will land. 3 is good for a 3-point jab, but once we score this, that's the end of round 1. Doing a little bit of paperwork here. 13 points for Foreman, 14 for Klitschko. Klitschko won the round by 1 point, but we need to see how the judges score it. The judges score it high, low, high. So they are giving the round to Klitschko. How about I do it in the right place, Phoenix? And by it, I mean the paperwork, of course. Alright, so that's all handled. I'll get the decks switched out, and when we come back to round 2, Klitschko will still be our aggressor. Just need to move the fighters back to ring center, and then Klitschko's all ready to start round 2, so he will start us off with control. His first action of round 2 is ring movement, so we are moving. Staying in ring center. Back to Klitschko. Who loses control. Foreman can't take it. Klitschko takes control back. 48 is a clinch. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 64 is ring movement. We are moving to the near ropes. So Klitschko now is +1 on his control checks. Speaking of which, Klitschko now needs a 12 to take control, which he gets with a 10. He would have gotten it anyway. 42 is a missed punch. Foreman can try to counter punch. And he'll do it with a power shot. So Klitschko's a 1 against a 4. 4 points to Foreman. So Foreman lands a pretty big power shot in that counter situation. So we go over to Foreman with a control check, who loses control. Klitschko can't take... Actually, Klitschko does take control because he's got Foreman against the ropes. Foul. Klitschko's a B against a 32. I'm pretty sure that'll get waved off. That gets waved off. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman would have taken control with that card, but we're over to Foreman now, who takes control. 14 misses a power shot, but he lands another punch. Foreman will land. 1 point partially blocked, so we'll go up to 5 points. Once this decides, there we go. I was going to say, once that decides it wants to focus. Back to Foreman, who loses control. Klitschko takes it. 61 is a clinch. Back to Klitschko, who takes control. 17 is going to land a punch of his own. Klitschko will land. 26 will be good for a 3-point hook. So Klitschko on the board with 3 points in the round. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. .58 is a clinch. Back to Klitschko. Stays in control. 12 lands a punch. He will land. 50 cut. 50 is good for a 2-point cross. And then Foreman's a 2 plus 15 is 17. Will be no cut. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 8 is going to land a power shot. Foreman's a 0 against a 17. 5 points to Klitschko, and we go straight to Klitschko's control check. So Klitschko's up to 10 points on the round. And we go straight to the random number for Klitschko. We find 26 is going to land a punch. He will land. 21 will be good for a 3-point hook, which will bring Klitschko up to 13 points on the round. Back to Klitschko we go, who loses control. Foreman can't take it. Klitschko, no control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko takes control. 68 is ring movement. We are moving back to ring center. So Klitschko loses +1 now on control checks. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman can't take it. Klitschko takes control. 12 is going to land a punch. He will land. 18 cut. 18 is good for a 2-point jab, which will bring Klitschko up to 15 points, but we need to check for a cut on Foreman. So he's a 2+. A 45 is 47. I'm pretty sure that's going to be some significant damage. 47. Yes, we have. So I'm just going to make some notes here. Foreman, cut R2. Minor swelling under right eye, or under left eye, I should say. +1 to cut rating. And 1 cut point. But since that was the last card of the round, that's the end of round 2. Klitschko picked up another 15 points to Foreman's 5. Doing a little bit of math here. 15 from 61 is 46. 5 from 77 is 72. By a 10-point margin, Klitschko will win the round 10-9 on all cards. Okay, got that all straight now. What did I do with the... Oh, here's the chart. I'm trying to keep the charts together. So, I will get the decks switched out once again, and then Klitschko will continue to be our aggressor going into round 3. Before we start round 3, we need to see if Foreman's cornerman can do a little bit of work for him. So we're going to be obtaining a random number on the cornerman chart. Right here. He's average on cuts, so this could be bad. Let's see what random number we find here. A 37 is average reduction, which I believe is 1 point. I believe 1 less cut point. Let me just double check that. Cuts and swelling. Determining the... Okay, that's probably something with the cornerman. Here we go. Okay, so right, we're working on average reduce the fighter's total damage by 1. Okay, so we don't... So Foreman now doesn't have that cut point anymore, which is fortunate for him, but he still has the damage that he inflicted, I believe. So we're all set to start round 3 with that. Klitschko is our aggressor, and here's this bell to start round 3. So Klitschko will start us off with no control. Foreman will take control. 51 is a clinch. Back to Foreman, who stays in control. 34 is going to miss a punch, no counter punch. Back to Foreman, who stays in control. Landing a power shot. Klitschko's a 1 against a 15. 15-1, so 5 points, and Foreman gets the next control check. Well, Foreman actually stays in control. That's what's coming up on the chart. So Foreman, 24 is going to land another punch. He will land. 13 is good for a 2-point jab, which will put him up to 7 points. Back to Foreman, who stays in control. 55 is a clinch. Back to Foreman, who stays in control. I was about to say loses control, but he actually keeps it. And lands a power shot. Klitschko's still a 1 against a 1. I'm sure that, yep, that'll be 4 points to Foreman, which will bring Foreman up to 11. Back to Foreman, who loses control. Klitschko, no control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko, no control. Foreman takes control back. Landing another power shot. So we need a KD rating from here. A 10. Another 5 points to Foreman, which brings him up to 16 points. This round, this third round so far has been all Foreman. Back to Foreman we go, who stays in control. Landing another power shot. Good grief. On a 20. Oh boy. Okay, that's on 1 to 10, so we need a KD rating for that, I believe. Right? I'm never sure how that chart works, but he's scoring 6 points either way. So Foreman will go up to 22. I'll score that, but I have to double check how this works. I believe it's a control. Is it a control number? Where in the world? Knockdown. Here we are. Okay, that's not what I wanted to see. Check the KDC. Right. Okay, so it looks like the KDC rating is what we need. I think. Question is, I got to check to see if I don't know if the KDC. It's probably another KD2 rating. I've never been sure how that works. So we need to get a KD2 rating. That's a 2, which means he'll get a knockdown and full killer instinct. So this will be a knockdown for Foreman. So Foreman picks up a knockdown. And we get full killer instinct. This is the potential to be fight ending. So 9 cards for Foreman's killer instinct. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. First card up. 72 is ring movement, so we are moving to the near ropes, which will be helpful for Foreman coming out of killer instinct if he's still there. Next up, foul, which I don't check during killer instinct. 53 is going to be a clinch. 54, clinch. 67 is ring movement, so we're moving. Back to ring center, so much for the rope control advantage. 60 is a clinch, and 19 is going to land a punch, so he didn't do much with that killer instinct, but he will land. 36 is good for a 2-point hook. So up to 24. Then back to Foreman, who keeps control. 47 is going to clinch. Back to Foreman, who stays in control. 16 is going to land a punch. He will land. 18 is good for a 2-point jab. So now a power shot now probably ends the fight. Foreman loses control. Klitschko has been getting hammered, but he takes control there. 30 is a missed punch, but no counter punch. Actually, no, he lands a punch. Klitschko lands. 68 is a 3-point uppercut. So Klitschko getting on the board after getting hammered this round. 3 points to Klitschko. Back to Klitschko we go. Who takes control, who stays in control. He needs to pretty much keep control for the rest of the round. 10 is going to just miss a power shot, but he will land a punch. He will land. 63 is good for a 2-point combination, which will bring him up to 5 points. Klitschko will not be having that belt much longer. He will stay in control, though. Ring movement for Klitschko. We are moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman. No control. Klitschko. No control. Foreman. Would have control, but that's the end of round 3. That was a very one-sided round for Foreman. So 26 points to 5 for Klitschko. Let's see, 44 and 34. 41, 26 is 46. Yes. And then with a knockdown, Foreman actually is going to win the round 10-8 automatically. Yeah. They'll win the round 10-8 with a knockdown and having the highest score. So I'll get the decks reset, and then when we come into round 4, Foreman will be our aggressor. Foreman is all set to start round 4 as our aggressor, so there's the bell, and let's get started. Foreman will start us off with no control. Klitschko takes control. He needs to undo some of the damage. Oh, before we do that, I almost forgot. We do need to check for carryover because of punishment. So before we go into Klitschko's check, we will check for carryover conditions. He's a KO rating of a 1. So we'll use the other deck for that. No effect. I did almost forget about that. So now we're into Klitschko's control check. Or his action check. 23 is going to land a punch. Klitschko will get on the board first with. 54 is a 2-point cross. Back to Klitschko we go. Who stays in control. I wasn't sure there for a second. 31 is going to land a punch. Yeah, land a punch, and he will land. A 1 is going to be a 3-point jab. Klitschko on the board. Klitschko up to 5 points on the round. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 78 is ring movement, so we are moving. Staying at ring center. Back to Klitschko we go, who stays in control. Just misses a power shot, but he'll land another punch. He will land 18 cut. 18 is good for a 2-point jab. And if you remember from last round, Foreman actually is adding 3 now to his cut check. So he's a 3 plus. 32 is 35. Major cut high on the forehead. Okay, I'm just making some notes here. I'm stepping off camera to do this. So Foreman round 3. Major cut high on forehead, which will give him a -1 control factor. RN 1 to 13 punch. 14 to 20 headbutt. But the headbutt's unintentional if it happens. Okay. Which means it looks like we'll need second numbers for that. So back to Klitschko we go. Who loses control. Foreman. No control. Klitschko. No control. Foreman. Would take control, but now we need to check on the control factor, and we established that on a 1 to 13 he keeps it. That's a 4, so he'll keep it. 36 is going to miss a punch, no counter punch. Back to Foreman. No control. Klitschko. No control. Foreman. Would take control, but we need to check once again. And he'll headbutt Klitschko unintentionally. Right? Yes. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, no. -1 control factor. I haven't been factoring that in. All right, so Foreman. No control. Klitschko. Takes control back. 4 is going to land a power shot. Foreman's a 0 against a 12. 5 points to Klitschko. Which brings Klitschko up to 12 points. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 46 is a clinch. Klitschko stays in control. 35 is a missed punch, no counter punch. Klitschko, no control. Foreman would take control, but we have to check. 17, another headbutt. Back to Foreman. No control. Klitschko takes control. 38 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Lands a punch, he will land. 65 is good for a 2-point combination, which will bring him up to 14 points on the round. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 65 is ring movement. We are moving to the far corner. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman. No control. Klitschko. No control. Foreman would take control, but we need to check. Headbutts Klitschko. Back to Foreman. Would take control, but we need to check. Not that it's going to matter. Unintentionally headbutts Klitschko, but that's the end of the round. 14 points for Klitschko to none for Foreman. 48, so he stays at 46. Foreman drops to 27. Yes. All right. I'm going to check on that specific cut rule. Then we'll get the decks switched out, and when we come back, Klitschko will be our aggressor to start round 5. Before we start round 3, we need to see if Foreman's cornerman is able to do anything with that major cut high on the forehead. That's actually 3 cut points. And I did forget to mention that on the round differential, Klitschko won the round 10-9. So Berestein is an average on cuts, and as far as what he will do with that, 12 is actually a good reduction, so we'll reduce it by 2 cut points. Which Foreman right now only has 1 cut point, but he's still got the damage there. So we're all set to start round 5, is it? Yes, round 5 we're about to start. Klitschko's our aggressor. And there's the bell. So Klitschko will start us off with control. Landing a power shot right away. Foreman's a 0 against a 4. I'm sure that'll be 4 points. Yep, 4 points to Klitschko. Four points to Klitschko. Back to Klitschko we go on the check, or on the control check. He'll lose control. Foreman. No control. Klitschko takes control. Foul. He's a B against a 67. B against a 67. Warns for leading with the head. So I'm going to make a note here. That's Klitschko's first warning. He'll allow, so Frank Cappuccino will allow 3-point deductions, or will allow 3 warnings, I believe, before he'll check for the disqualification, right? Yes. All right, back to Klitschko we go. Who keeps control. Another foul. This isn't good. A 7, he'll get waved off. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman would take control, but we need to check another control factor. He'll headbutt Klitschko. Back to Foreman, who stays in control, but we need to check. Headbutts again. Hold on, there was something I was looking at as far as the headbutts go. Right. Second warning. Issues a warning for headbutting. Oh, I guess I'm not using that. So I'm using the headbutt to stop the control check. Or stop the action check. Back to Foreman, who would take control, but we need to check again. He will land the punch, but he'll foul instead, so he's a C against an 11. That'll get waved off. Back to Foreman, who would take control, but we need to check. Headbutts Klitschko. Back to Foreman, who would take control, but we need to check again. Will land the punch. Ring movement, actually, so we will move to the far ropes. Back to Foreman we go. Who loses control? Klitschko takes control back. Injury, oh boy. Let's see what we've got here. No injury, just a break in the action. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 12 is going to land another punch. He will land. 76 is good for a 2-point uppercut, which will bring Klitschko up to 6 points. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman would take control, but we need to check. Lands the punch. Well, ring movement will move us to the left neutral corner. Back to Foreman, who loses control. Klitschko takes it. 47 clinches. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 25 is going to land a punch. He will land. 59 is good for a 2-point cross. I'm going to move those cards so I can actually see. 8. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman would take control, but we need to check. Will land the punch. 67 is actually ring movement, so we're moving. Back to ring center. Back to Foreman, who would take control, but we need to check for it. Will land the punch, and, well, would land the punch, but that's the end of the round. 8 points for Klitschko, none for Foreman. That, I don't know, something doesn't feel right about that. Let's see, 56, 19. So we need to, so at an 8-point differential, we need to ask the judges what they think. The judges are going to score the round. High, even, so they're giving the round to Klitschko. I'll come back to get the decks ready, and then Klitschko will be our aggressor to start round 6. So I've been thinking a little bit about handling the headbutt that Foreman suffered back in round 3, and I feel like I'm going through the deck too fast. So I'm going to change how I'm handling how I handle Foreman's essentially second control check. So if Foreman takes control, and then I flip over the second card and lets him land the punch, I'm going to use that same card to go to the random number for that. That way I'm not going through the deck so fast. Anyway, now that we've got that all set up, we're all set for round 6, and Klitschko is our aggressor, so there's the bell, and let's get started. Klitschko will start us off with control. 12 is going to land a punch. He will land. One point partially blocked. So Klitschko gets on the board with 1 point. Back to Foreman. Or no, back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 35 is a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko takes control back. 21 lands a punch. He will land. 60 is a 2-point combination, so that'll bring Klitschko up to 3 points. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 15 is going to land another punch. He will land. 18 cut. 18 is good for a 2-point jab. And Foreman's a +3 on the cut check, so he's 3 plus. 58 is 61, which will be a pretty significant cut, I'm sure. 61 is minor cut over the left eye. He's getting cut quite a bit. This is round 6. -1 defense. -1 punches landed. And 2 cut points. Okay, so now we've got all that figured out. We're back to Klitschko on the control check, who keeps control. 26 is going to land another punch. He will land. 62 is good for another 2-point combination, so 7 points for Klitschko. Just slowly chipping away at Foreman. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman takes it, but we're going to the next card. 13 lands the punch, so now I'm going to go over to the random number on the same card and see that Foreman's landing a power shot. A much needed power shot, by the way. Klitschko is a 1 against a 2. I'm sure that'll be 4 points to Foreman. Yep. 4 points to Foreman. Back to Foreman, who loses control. Klitschko, no control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko takes control back. 14 lands a punch. He will land. 5 is good for a 3-point jab, which will bring Klitschko up to 10 points. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 65 is ring movement, so we are moving. Staying at ring center. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Lands another punch. Klitschko will land. 27 is good for a 3-point hook. Klitschko going up to 13 points. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Foul. Klitschko is a B against a 48, which will keep it above the head. Cautions both fighters to keep it above the head. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 64 is ring movement. We are moving. Staying at ring center. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman takes control, but we need to check. Stays in control to land the punch, but it's actually going to be a clinch. Back to Foreman, who loses control. Klitschko takes control. 46 is a clinch. I'm going to see if moving these lights lets me actually see Klitschko's card a little bit better. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko, no control. Foreman Would take control, but we have to check. Stays in control to land a power shot. Klitschko is a 1 against a 2. That'll be another 4 points to Foreman, which he needed desperately. Last card of the round to Foreman. No control. That's the end of round 6. 8 points for Foreman, 13 for Klitschko. Foreman's down to 6. Endurance. Klitschko. 8 is 38. We need to see how the judges see it with a 5-point difference, though. The judges are scoring it. High, even. Once again, they're giving the rounds to Klitschko. Just making some notes off camera. All right, I will get the decks reshuffled again, and then we'll be into round 7, where Klitschko will once again be our aggressor. Before we start round 7, we need to check for the cut over the left eye that Foreman suffered in round 6. Once again, Berestein is an average with pulling a foul, which means we'll pull again, though. At least I think we get to pull again if a word comes up. Let me look at that. We need to get an RN. Right? Yes. So we'll pull again since we pulled a word there. We'll pull a 36, which translates to average reduction, so -1 cut. Which means Foreman still has 2 cut points. Klitschko's our aggressor to start round 7, though, so there's the bell, and let's get started. Klitschko will start us off with control. 24 is going to land a punch. Klitschko will get on the board with 1 point partially blocked. So 1 point to Klitschko. Back to Klitschko we go, who will stay in control. 11 is going to land another punch. He will land. 44 cut. Foreman is just getting torn up. 44, we established, is a 3-point cross. We'll refocus that. And we need to get another cut rating for Foreman. So he's going to be 3 plus. 11 is 14. That should be no cut. Yep, no cut. All right, back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 27 is going to land another punch. Klitschko will land. A 70 cut. Good Lord. That's a 3-point uppercut. So now we need to make another cut check for Foreman. 3 plus. 34 is 37. I think we had this earlier. 37, nope, torn lip. Foreman cut. 7, torn lip. -1 endurance and cut point of 1. Which probably isn't going to matter, but I'll get into why at the end of the round, at least in terms of the endurance. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Just misses power shot, but he lands another punch. Klitschko will land. 20 is a 3-point hook. So 10 points to Klitschko. Back to Klitschko we go, who loses control. Foreman takes control, but we need to check. Stays in control to land his own punch, and he will get on the board with 25 is a 3-point hook. So Foreman on the board with 3 points. Back to Foreman we go, who stays in control, but we need to check. Stays in control to lead us into some ring movement, so we're moving. Staying at ring center. Back to Foreman. Who stays in control, but we need to check. Stays in control, but leads into a foul, so he's a C rating against a 77. Foreman's going to get a point taken away from him. On a 77, Foreman's going to lose a point for hitting on the break. That's his first foul. Making notes off camera. Oop. Okay, so Foreman's losing 1 point on the round. All right, back to Foreman we go. That was probably not a time. That was probably a time to headbutt Klitschko, if unintentionally. Loses control. Klitschko. No control. Foreman. No control. Klitschko. Takes control. .25 lands a punch. He will land. 79 is a 2-point uppercut. So that will bring Klitschko to 12 points. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Lands a power shot. Foreman's a 0 against an 18. 5 points to Klitschko, and we go straight to the action check. So that brings Klitschko up to 17 points, and we go straight to the action check for Klitschko. Foul. He's a B against a 12. I'm sure that'll get waved off. Yes, that will get waved off. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. 56 is a clinch. Back to Klitschko, who loses control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko takes control. 18 lands a punch. He will land. 73 is a 2-point uppercut. So we're up to 19 points for Klitschko. Back over to Klitschko we go. Stays in control. 33 is going to miss a punch. No counter punch. Klitschko stays in control. 43 misses a punch. Foreman can try to counter punch. He'll land a power shot in doing so. Klitschko's a 1 against a 1, which will be 4 points to Foreman. He needed that. Foreman gets our next control check, who loses control. Klitschko takes it back. 44 is a missed punch. Foreman can try to counter punch. A 75 won't do it. That's the end of round 7. 7 points for Foreman to 19 for Klitschko. and 59, 31. This is why the -1 endurance part on Foreman's split lip isn't going to matter. Because now Foreman's, well, I take that back. It might matter because of the cut point, but at least in terms of losing the endurance, Foreman is now fatigued, and we'll talk more about what that means before we start round 8. On a 12-point differential, Klitschko will take the round 10-9. All right, with that, I will get the decks reset, and when we come back, Klitschko will be ready to start round 8 as our aggressor. We're going to do Foreman's corner work on his torn lip first. Once again, Nacho Beristain is average, so the random number here is an 11, which is a good reduction, so no cut point from that. Which means now that cut's been closed off, so Foreman now only has 1, 2, he only has 2 cut points. But we also need to talk about what Foreman means, how Foreman's fatigued. So now we're referencing on the fatigued side of Foreman's card. So now his control factor drops to a 7-9, still 10 aggressiveness. Killer Instinct is now only 7 cards, still fouls on a C, defense rating of 4. KD 1 and 2 now is a 4-3, so Klitschko might be able to take more advantage of that. Knockout rating is a 4. Cut is still going to be 3 because of the cut he suffered earlier in the bout. And counterpunch of 4. Speaking of Klitschko, he's our aggressor, so there's the bell, and let's start round 8. Klitschko will start us off with no control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko takes control. 36 is going to miss a punch, no counterpunch. Klitschko, no control. Foreman, no control. Klitschko, no control. Foreman takes control, but we need to check for the headbutt. Headbutts Klitschko. Foreman would take control, but once again we need to check. Stays in control. 35 is a missed punch, no counterpunch. Back to Foreman, who takes control, but once again we need to check. Stays in control to land a punch. He will land. Just barely landing the punch. 49 is going to be good for, 31? No, he actually misses the punch. So this is actually Foreman's control check. He stays in control, but he has to check for the headbutt. He headbutts Klitschko. Back to Foreman. Stays in control, but we have to check. Stays in control to land the punch. He will land. 46 is good for a 3-point cross. Back up to 3 points. Back to Foreman we go, who loses control. Klitschko takes it. 29 is going to land a punch. Klitschko will land. 42 is a 3-point cross. So now we're tied for the round at 3. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Landing a power shot. Foreman's now a 4 against a 16. 16, 4. Klitschko's going to be scoring 6 points either way. So we'll score that. It's another K1 to 10, so we need to get a KD rating. On a 1 to 10, score 6 points with a knockdown and full killer instinct. 11 to 20, 6 points, and add KD 2 for the rest of the round. So that's an 11, which means we score 6 points and add the KD 2 for the rest of the round. So now Foreman's going to be a 7 on the KD column. Actually, he is... yeah. So back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Landing another power shot. This is where the 7 comes into play. So Foreman's now a 7 against a 16. Let's see, 16, 7. We have a possible knockout check. So now we need a knockout rating. But if he doesn't get the knockdown, we get full killer instinct. So Foreman's a 4 against a 15. 15, 4. No knockdown, but Klitschko will get his full killer instinct, which is 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I also need to score, I believe, yep. I score 6 points for that as well. So Klitschko goes up to 15 points. And full killer instinct for Klitschko. So here we go. Klitschko will start us off. 38 is missed punch, no counter punch. Next up, 46 will be a clinch. Then 26 will land a punch. Klitschko will land. 77 will be good for a 2-point uppercut, which will bring Klitschko up to 17 points. Next up, 13 is going to land another punch. Klitschko will land. 7 is a 3-point jab, which will bring Klitschko up to 20 points. Next up for Klitschko, 65 is ring movement, so we're moving to the far corner, which, assuming this isn't ring movement, should help Klitschko coming out of killer instinct. Last up is ring movement, so we're moving right back to ring center. So much for the advantage for Klitschko. But Klitschko is at 20 points, and we got a lot of round left. Plus, he's got the control check coming up. He stays in control. 17 is going to land another punch. He will land. 30 cut. 30 is another 2-point hook to bring Klitschko up to 22 points. But we need to do a cut check for Foreman, so he's going to be a 3 plus 14 is 17. That'll be no cut. Back to Klitschko, who stays in control. Landing another punch. Klitschko will land. 26 is a 3-point hook. So now we're into power shot could end the fight territory for Klitschko. Speaking of which, he's got the next control check. He'll stay in control. 15 will land another punch. He will land. .53 is a 3-point combination. So now Foreman just needs to get out of the round in order to continue the fight. But Klitschko's got the control check, which he will lose. Foreman, no control. Klitschko takes control back. 79 is ring movement. We're moving to ring center, but that's the end of round 8. 28 points for Klitschko. That was one-sided. To 3 for Foreman. 62, 28. That's 116. I'm going to check something here real quick. Actually, wait a second. Now that I look at it, that was 13 points in round 6. 13 and 19 is 32. Actually, here's what I think just happened. I didn't realize this at the time, but 32 and 28 is actually 60, so that is actually the end of the fight. I did not realize that at the time. So Klitschko has scored 60 points over the course of 3 rounds and has picked up a 3-round TKO over George Foreman. So I'll make a note of that. Just making some notes off camera. My battery died as I was going through the TKO details. But Vitali Klitschko has indeed advanced over George Foreman in 8 rounds. He's advanced to face Rocky Balboa in the semifinals of the tournament. The question is, how will Balboa's hand be holding up when we get to that bout? But that will do it for this playthrough of the greatest boxer tournament in Title Bout II. I'm expecting to make at least 2 more videos today, but I'll surprise you guys with those. As for what's scheduled on the channel, Mystical Munchies tomorrow will continue with the World of Warcraft official cookbook as we cook up cornmeal biscuits. Sunday, the fall campaign continues in Arkham Horror the card game with the 7th scenario, Return to Black Star's Rise. And Wednesday next week, we'll be playing Aeon's End, defending Gravehold from the Nameless. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.